next week, the man comes again and asks, "Do you know what I want to say?" They say, "No, we don't know." It's okay. If you are people like ignorant, you don't know things. I will not speak. So he went again. Then they got again together and said, "Now we have really a problem. What should we do?" So next week, when he came and said, he said, "Do you know about what I want to talk today?" Half said yes, the other half said no. And then he said, "Okay, those who know, tell those who don't know." So our situation is a little bit similar. Yeah. Anyhow, so my wife and myself, we are very happy to be here, and really, Gabriela, for the last 20 years, it's always saying, "You must come to Cluj, you must come to Cluj," and here we are, and really, we have been really very impressed from the Romanian people we have met in the last 10-15 years, and you see, because you are also between East and West, so you have many, let's say, Eastern, Oriental, and this collectivistic capabilities, features, and so, but also, let's say, European, Western, individualistic characteristics. And this combination is a very special one. Yeah, so therefore, I'm actually more here to learn from you, but Gabi said, if you don't speak, you don't get something to eat, so I speak now.
That's it.
But friends, please, if you don't understand something, so please ask, yeah, because English is for all of us now the working language. Also, I hear some things in German, I have to speak in English, speak in German, you do the other way. So let's try to work on that. Okay, really, then don't be. Good. So Gabi said it would be good, whatever Gabi says, we say yes. She said it would be good maybe to speak a little bit about the stress management.
Whatever you say.
When we were yesterday and the day before, we were in Bucharest, and everybody said when you go to Cluj, there the life is so quiet, the mountains are there, so there is no stress at all. And then they said, "Oh, you speak about stress management, we need this also here in Bucharest." So, we are now here. And maybe a good beginning is, there is a saying which you might know. It says, if you want to have something which you have never had before, you have to do something which you have never done before. You see, this is very simple to understand, but very difficult to put into practice. We all want that our life changes, our life becomes better, and it starts from our physical thing until intellectual, spiritual, family, profession. We want new things, but are we also ready to accept something new? Also, when we work with clients or patients, it's the same question. So actually, before we start, we have to ask, are you ready for something new or not? Like someone who's smoking, for example. Yeah? He wants to give it up, but the question is, am I willing to do something new? This is the question. And we all know it's very difficult to change our own thing. But I guess if today, on this sunny weather, and today's a holiday, so you came here, so it shows that you are very motivated and so on, and this is a good way to start. There's a German proverb which says that many people ruin their health during the first half of their life in order to achieve success and get money, and spend later during the second half of their life this money to become healthy again. That's why we have these centers here, this clinic, and so on. Yeah? So, well, it is good for our business, but it's not good for the people. So we want to think a little bit how can we help people, so to say, not to fall into the trap or hole. You see, one is because usually in medicine and psychotherapy, we run behind the problem. You see, 20 years ago in your childhood and this and that. But the one idea is how to help people, in a way of self-management, to prevent this kind of problems. Yeah? Prevention, prophylaxis. Yeah? So how to prevent this kind of issues and so on. Well, before I get deeper to that, as Gabi just mentioned before, if I'm not traveling around, we work in Germany. It's near Frankfurt, it's in Wiesbaden, it's a city also like Cluj, 300,000 inhabitants. We have an academy where we train doctors and psychologists and pedagogues to become psychotherapists. This takes in Germany about 4 to 5 years, very long training, 4,000 hours. 4,000 hours, and at the end comes a state examination then, yeah? And we have about, so it's quite a large academy, and we have also a big, like, polyclinic, you say, no? Like a big polyclinic is about 60 rooms. 60 rooms, and now for the whole time people come for psychotherapy and so on. So it's a very, very busy place actually then, and so on. And we have seen that people respond very positively to positive psychotherapy. And maybe today we can discuss some of these things, and I want to do also some practical things, because God should make a workshop, not only lecture, we make a workshop, okay? So we have also something to write, so we can get into this. It's okay or not? You see, today we live in a time where many things are changing. Many norms, values in society, which for hundreds of years were clear, are changing. Values of education, they change. The children think they know many things better, maybe they even know better. Religion changes, society changes. You have here before revolution, after revolution. So we have a lot of many things changes then, and this brings also a lot of stress with itself. Then, yeah. Then many people they say in Germany is a proverb: "Time is money, and I don't have money." People is always like under stress, and so it's sometimes even modern. Not to have time, yeah, always busy. If you are not busy, you are like a loser. You have too much time and so on. Then, so this is you want to make an appointment with people. I don't know how it's here. Sometimes you have to make a long time in advance, and people are busy and so. But here, people are very flexible. Then this, you work at the whole day at the office. Not important, less important, totally unimportant things. Many people who work like in offices or management say, at the end of the day, I have more emails and more paper than I had at the beginning of the day. Yeah? The whole day I work, but look at the table. When you work, let's say, in a practical thing, then it's different. Yeah? You do something, at the end of the day, you see a result. Here, it's difficult to see the result. Yeah? Then we have here, sometimes you feel like John, and these are people who give suggestions how you should work. Yeah, and then you sit there with different people, have wonderful ideas what you should do, and then you are carrying here all this thing. Then and this also makes life difficult. Then,
well, maybe he's the happier one.
Then with the colleagues it's sometimes difficult. We have to get along with them. We are spending 8 hours maybe per day or more at work, and so we have to we are more with the colleagues or together than maybe with the family members. This also is an important thing. Then our patients in psychotherapy usually have not much patience. Like here, you have 10 minutes. What is my problem? Yeah. In the past, people had usually a very patient, so you get more time. Now they look up in the internet something and come and say, my friend was there and he got like healing very quickly, and I'm still here, nothing has happened, and so on and so on. And especially here, like in Romania and many countries, where the patient has to pay you, and it's not by insurance, so it's a lot of pressure. If you have not a good performance, you don't get money. So this makes it very complicated. Then we have here a pressure. We have to heal a lot of people at the same time. Yeah. So we have to see how we can work more efficiently. Yeah. Many people need psychological help and so on. But this is a professional aspect. Then you come home. Then you have the problems which exist in your families and this and that. This is also a big challenge. Divorce, separation, problems with parents-in-law, mother-in-law, and this and children and all these things. Or you don't have problems with this? Only
no.
Only we have the problem. Then that's what they say. Then like political things like 11th of September, 2000. So all these political things, and this all lead to that many people don't know what to do anymore. Yeah? Why should I live? What should I do? You know, and here's someone, he goes to the information desk of the city and says, what is the purpose of my life? You know, we all have been for many years in school, maybe in a university or something, and learned, I don't know, mathematics, physics, and all these things. But nobody told us what is the purpose of life. They say this is so important, you have to find the answer by yourself. But mathematics, biology, and all these things we learn, but this question, we are left by ourselves. So there were many clients, patients, people come and also want the answer, but if I don't have an answer myself, how can I help the other people? So maybe today we can look at these things, if you agree. Good. Today I wanted maybe to focus on 4 aspects, if you allow. One is a little bit to discuss about this, the importance to change our perspective. One is this balance model, you know this, but I want to share maybe a few other elements. Then something about stress management techniques, and then a little bit about the psychological vampires. Is it okay? We can do also something else if you want. Huh? Yeah? Okay. And then we can also discuss some things, and you have maybe some questions and cases and so. Okay? You know, it's a little bit difficult to summarize up now all these things. You know, usually, as Club said, this is a training of several years. And you know, one Oriental king was reflecting about life. And then he got his minister, his best minister, and said, can you summarize up the history of mankind? The minister went for 1 year in a small room and sit down and came back and so, and he had produced so many books. He said, this is the history of mankind. And then the king looked at it and said, it's good, but it's too long. So the man goes back again. After 2 years he comes back. He has written 1 book. This is the summary of the history of mankind, humankind. He looks again and says, it's good, too long. So the minister goes back after 3 years, long work and tired, and this he comes back and then he said, I've summarized up the history of mankind in 1 sentence. Oh, 1 sentence. Yeah. They all came, they all lived, and they all went again. So in this way we want to summarize up today some of the things. Well, one of the things which you know when we deal with clients, patients, but of course we ourselves are also our own clients. I mean, so we speak also about like stress management in our own lives. Is that it's always the question, either you change the situation or you change your perspective. These are the only 2 options we have in life. Of course, first we want always to change the situation, you know, to fire the boss, to fire the partner, to fire the mother-in-law, to fire the neighbor. But the older you become, you see, the more complicated it becomes to fire the people. So we have to see how is it maybe possible to change our own perspective. This is the thing. Yes, we get that right. One of the first things which is important is how we see ourselves. I don't know if you see this here. You know, it's a question, it always depends how you see yourself. This is a cat and this is a lion. So the question is, how do I see myself? Some people, as you know, they overestimate themselves, and some people underestimate themselves. This is a problem, yeah? So one is the question, how I see myself, and as you know, what is my perspective? Here's written, today is Monday, the beginning of the working week. And today is Friday, the end of the working week. You see? So sometimes just by changing the perspective, a situation can change. And I think this is something which, again, is easy to say, but very difficult in life. For example, someone comes and says, my mother has died. How can you help me? My wife said I should come to you, but you cannot. You're not a magician. Yeah, my mother has died. You can't bring her back to life. So what should I do here? And then it's the question, how can we help someone to change this perspective? And to change this perspective also has to do a lot, how do I see myself? How do I see myself? And then we get also to the self-esteem thing, self-confidence, and so on. So if you allow, I want to share a few words about that. You know, a basis of positive psychotherapy, of course, has been also the experiences of the founder, my father, when he founded this about 40 years ago. And there were two aspects. We had this morning this nice interview was like, there are two major things have influenced him at that time. One was his own situation between like East and West, like Iran, and then in Germany. Germany in 1954, you know, after the war, it was not still very strict, and so then you come from an Oriental country as a student, and you see here everything is very strict and that. So this combination between this East and West stimulated him to develop a method which is not a Western method and not an Eastern method. It's more really an integrative method, and that's the reason why in many countries positive psychotherapy is very well received. You see, Gabi also is traveling to China, to this and that, to many places, Ethiopia, this, Eastern Europe, Western Europe, and we see people can always apply this to their own life. So one is this East-West thing. The other thing is a little bit mentioned it. Mentioned it in German, we say like in English, like the conception of man, the image of man, like the worldview. There's not the exact word in English for that. I think it's clear, huh? Where's my translator? Do you have in Romania a special word for that? Or?
Like image of the person.
Okay, so something like this. Okay. And this method has been very inspired by the image of man from the Baha'i religion, where it says that regard human beings as a mind. You know mind? Mind? Full of gems, so like of inestimable value. Gems is like diamonds, brilliance. They know this better than I do. So it shows that we say every human being has a lot of diamonds, brilliance, rubies, smaragd, and all these things in himself. These are the capabilities we have. And the purpose of life is to get them out of the mountain, to polish them, and 20 years the parents are responsible. Yeah? And the rest is 6 years is self-education. I have to polish myself. You know, it's not always the fault of the parents. We have all to do. So, and this leads, this conception of man leads very much to the question about the self-esteem. Let me explain that. You know these two concepts of unconditional love and conditional love. So, the unconditional love, we say it's clear unconditional love. We say that, you know, in the ideal case, which is maybe, I don't know, 10% of the families, 20% of them, not more, you perceive the love of your parents in an unconditional way. This means when you are born, they say, we have waited exactly for you. This is the way we imagine our child. You don't need to do anything, just you are here, and this is wonderful. And you see from your faces, this is a very good feeling then, huh? So they just say, you have such a value, just that you are here, this is good. So this, I'm not explaining now the easy way, this leads to that, so that the self-esteem develops from inside. Because you see, if they pay, yeah, so the parents pay a lot of attention to me, they love me, they maybe give up other things, I'm the priority, so there must be something good, yeah? But this is the ideal case. Unfortunately, it's not so often. The more common thing is the conditional love. Conditional love means we love you very much, but if you make your homework, if you are polite to other people, if you clean up your room, then we love you more. Yeah? Sometimes it's like expressed like explicitly, and sometimes like implicitly. Yeah? So you just feel this stuff. These are usually people who achieve a lot in the, for example, professional field. Why? Because you always need attention from outside. Because here the self-esteem comes from outside. So if it's 5 o'clock, you want to go home, and your boss says, please, can you stay here? I need your help. You are my last hope. If you don't help me, I don't know what I should do with these kind of things. Okay, so you phone at home and say, sorry, I cannot come, I have to work here. And then you do something, and by this you get more love and attention, so the self-esteem goes up, at least for a few moments. And then again, you need this here. So this is and now we try to discuss them with the client or with the patient to understand what has been my own background and and how maybe he can learn that he has a lot of values in himself just because he's the one he is. It's clear a little bit. Yeah? So this is how the concept of man, I think, plays an important role. Okay? Yeah. Another thing which is very important, this was difficult to translate into English because there's a specific German term for that. It's if our life is more self-determined, yeah, or it is, let's say, well, determined by other people. I translate it to remote determined. I don't know how it's maybe in Fremdbestimmt.
I translated it, but I forgot the word as well.
You forgot the word?
But I translated.
Okay, what she translated, you forgot. Okay. So, but it's clear, yeah? You have self-determined life, determined by other people. You see, this is something, and stress always comes up in life, not because of the situation. Only when I have the feeling I'm not self-determined anymore. The best example are children. For example, you tell your children, okay, if you, I don't know, go into the kitchen and get some, I don't know, water, or you clean up your room or something, if you do this, you are allowed to watch television. And the child will run there, make up the room, and come back to the television. Yeah? If you, why? Because it was his own decision to do so. But if you say, no, you have to go and clean up your room, you know, it's like someone else determines my life. And the same thing is like in our daily life. When, for example, if you come here today because you want to come, self-determined, for you it's not important, it's raining, it's snowing, it's sun or so, holiday, you like it to come, no stress, it is even actually maybe like a small feast, like a festival, you meet other people, it's an interesting evening and wonderful. Now imagine now your boss calls you and says you have to go tonight, there's someone from Germany coming, I don't know what he says, but go there and go and listen and this and that. Well, I'm now with my family, now I have the holiday, the nice weather, we want to go this and that. So the same situation differs totally from this perspective. Is it self-determined or, let's say, remotely determined? So that's something where we have to see how can we help ourselves, the patient, the client, to get from a more remote determined life to a self-determined life. Once I get self-determined, the same thing which was difficult, now it's not difficult anymore. Yeah? Do you know our Greek friend Sisyphus? You know Sisyphus? Sisyphus was complicated. And maybe another word. You know the one that who had some problems, you know, in Greek mythology about truth. Huh?
Sisyphus.
Yes,
yeah, it's Sisyphus.
You know, his problem was that he had some problems with the gods. He had something and trouble, and then he was punished that for the rest of his life he has to push this stone up on the mountain, and then the stone fell down, and so on. So that's, you know, often when life is difficult, we say it's like a Sisyphus work or so. And in German they call it Sisyphus. And now it's a question, there's even a book about this from Albert Camus and so on. Yeah. That's another story. That how can we imagine
Sisyphus being happy?
Okay, as a happy person. Yeah. This is something you can do like in a seminar with someone or with a patient. Sit down. Okay, you're telling the story maybe with a picture, and now let's imagine what must happen that
Sisyphus
has a happy life. What is it? Because it's a situation he cannot change. For the rest of his life, he has to push the stone up. So again, the situation we cannot change, but the perspective. And then suddenly we find out There are hundreds of positive elements in that life. Yeah? Yes, he can have friends that push up the stone together. He can stay there and look at the countryside then, yeah? He gets every day stronger. Yeah, no, he knows every day what he has to do for the next day.
What can I do for tomorrow?
Yeah? Listen. And he can stop, he can talk with people on the way, and then this and that. And the only problem is he must not expect that the goal is to put the stone on the mountain. Then he will suffer because there is fear. Yeah? This is the thing then. No, because every day I have to do the same thing, nothing changes. No, with my child every day the same. I go to the work every day. I do this every day. Then I get from self-determined to remote-determined, and that's it. I get stressed up, I get depressed, I have no energy, and so on. So that's maybe something you want to consider. Very nice. Yeah, maybe you have some. You have the Sisyphus. No, here's the name.
Sisyphus.
Sisyphus.
With F. Yes.
Sisyphus. Okay, Sisyphus. Is this a little bit understandable? Good. Good. One other thing, you know, we are still in the first thing, change of the attitude, change perspective. Another thing what you see important is to help people to be more proactive or not reactive. You see here, you live, and there you are lived. Yeah, you are lived. Yeah. For example, I don't know how it's seen in Germany when you ask someone, how are you? Say, oh, so much work, and the weather is bad, and this and that, and so on. So all this is a question, again, not self-determined then, yeah? So I'm not living, I am lived. Yeah, some people do something with me. Once I become the, the boss in my own life, the leader in my own life, and the
driver
of my own life then, yeah? What's that? Madam?
Adriana.
So the Steuermann in my... No, Steuermann from the ship.
Captain.
The captain gives the order.
Kermacz.
So once I get this position, then it's a proactive life and so on. Yeah? And we will later get to this balance model, why this is so very important and so on. See, all these things sound very simple, but actually they play a very important role to help the people not to have the feeling they are victims, you know, the whole pressure of the whole world is on their shoulders and this and that. And that's something we have to help them to get out of this thing. Maybe you know this an example where it's like from management, where they say it depends on one vision. You see here 3 men, I don't know if you've seen in the past, they're doing the same thing, working on the stone. And the faces are totally different. He's depressed, sub-depressed, he's fully motivated. And you can later see from the work. So the work is identical. It cannot be because of the work. But in the mind, he says, I am working on a stone, 50 years. He says, I am working on a window. I'm constructing a window. And this one says, I'm building a cathedral, a large church. This is the thing there. So, again, he, we would say, is totally remote determined. Yeah? Remember, every day I have to go this work and so on. This one is fully motivated, yeah? And this depends not on the work, it depends on myself, on my vision. So I think if we help our clients not to be so much concerned about the condition of life, because the conditions you cannot change. Yeah? Maybe politically so, climate is so, neighbor is so, mother-in-law is so, you don't know. But important is what I do out of this, my vision. So again, I'm self-determined and I can take my life into my own hand. Yeah? Like here we have this, the director here of this hospital, they have, I'm sure there was a, you had this vision, Chef, you had the vision to build up this hospital, yeah, so there was a vision for that. And I'm sure there have been hundreds of problems, but because you have the vision, you do it then and so on. And others, oh, it's not possible, a hospital, and this, and insurance, and this, and the money, and so on. So that's the thing. We have to help the people to get more, to be responsible for their own life and take it in their own hands. Good. And the last thing for this part is in America there was a very famous book. It was called The Road Less Traveled. Yeah, a road which you travel not so often. And then the first sentence of the book, when you open, is life is difficult. And then he explains in a whole half of the book why life is difficult. And then they say, once we truly know that life is difficult, once we truly understand and accept it, then life is no longer difficult. Because once it is accepted, the fact that life is difficult no longer matters. For example, you have small children, then your life will be difficult the next 15 to 20 years. Finish. For the next 20 years, you will be busy with the child. Once I accept this, then it's okay. Then I don't get surprised every day. Oh, I have so much, not much time, and this and that. See, many people suddenly like they are very surprised what is happening. Oh, I know. For example, let's say you have a responsible job. You have someone to take care at home who is sick or so. Once I accept that this is difficult, it is reality. It's not difficult anymore. And I think it's the same concept. We change our perspective. We get out from this suffering victim person thing then who is carrying the whole thing. We get motivated like Sisyphus, and then we went up the mountain. We go up the mountain. So friends, this was about the first part. Are there any comments, questions?